Running plays, that's ish talk. You say you getting paid, that's ish talk. You see me with my babe, that's ish talk. The money in that way, that's ish talk. I beg, I beg, I beg, I beg.
Yo, 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 welcome to another episode of the Lord Show, Ish Talk TV, live from the DMV, doing it how it's supposed to be. I hope you got some kush at the crib, some cat in the bed, and some cash in your pocket. What more can be said? All right, so this episode, we're going to do it. We got some our predictions for the election, uh, noise cameras in Montgomery County, young thugs in Navy Yard, young thugs in Tyson's Corner. It's going crazy. And also about this Kamala and Trump rally stuff. So leave a like and a comment. It's free 99. I hope you guys had a good Halloween or whatever is going on. You went out dressed up like a superhero. I took my carving skills to the next level. Usually the next plantation, we have a competition on who can carve the best watermelons. Did you guys hear what that dude said at a Trump rally? Things are just all open now, huh? He mentioned Puerto Ricans, and you could have saw there was some clips of some Puerto Rican Trump supporters. They were like, "It's okay, it's just a joke." I mean, I'm sorry, they didn't say it like that, but we're going to get to that and more. We're going to talk about what's happening in DC, the closing of dispensaries, and more. My special guest, he's a candidate for Ward 2, DC Council, civil rights attorney, Rondell Jordan's in the house. Watch your mouth. How you doing, sir?
Bless, brother.
Magic Man. All right.
Yeah.
All right, and we got the president of Christians United for Israel at UMD, Nick Marks. Big Daddy Marks, what's good, player? How you doing in this?
Good. Hope everyone's having a great week. I'm ready to be over with this election. I don't know about you guys.
Oh yeah, most definitely, most definitely. First we gotta give it up to. I might have to go dig up my Redskins jersey, y'all, because I'm so happy for the city. I don't know what's going on. It's hot in October and the Commanders are winning. Did you guys?
Hey, that was one of the greatest finishes of a football game I have ever seen. I'm a Ravens fan. It was a rough week for us. We lost to the Browns, but I watched the ending of the Commanders game, and it was like something out of a movie. So,
Yeah, I'm really excited as well, man. Like just the energy in the city around the Commanders is just and like we need that right now because there's also a lot of like angst and anticipation of this election. But I'm really happy to see the Commanders and young Jaden balling. Impressive.
Absolutely. And I think that moving forward, for DC as a brand, this is a team that has been so bad for so long, and finally it's breathing energy into the franchise in a new era. And I'm not a Commanders fan, but as someone who is an Orioles fan, and that team was awful up until last year.
Yeah, that was balling.
I'm glad that you guys have a good bog team this year.
I heard someone. I'm being nosy. I heard someone says they were talking about the game. They were like, "Hey, there has never been this type of momentum like this in the city." And I'm thinking, like, what about RG3? I forgot about him. Wasn't he? He had the city lit for a couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean, but like that's almost a decade ago now, maybe actually maybe 10 years. But I mean, just how like Jaden is carrying the team. Like when RGD, I think he came, like obviously he had the Heisman behind him and everything like that. But Jaden reminds me more of like the city in terms of that grittiness of like, he was picked behind Caleb Williams, right? He wasn't supposed to be the one that's balling out of control. And to go up against Caleb and prevail like that is just beautiful, man. It's just so DC.
So DC. Well, what's going on in DC right now? What happened is Kamala Harris, as she's at the what's called Eclipse. She had a speech. I didn't listen to it because I can only have enough Kamala. My meter Kamala is going. She had the Shannon Sharp thing, but Nick, did you had the energy to how'd it go, man? Did your ears bleed?
So I think that the three-headed hydra of the Kamala Harris closing argument is as follows. January 6th, right? That's why she chose the eclipse, calling Trump a fascist. The second one would be abortion, which we're seeing in early voting data that women are voting more than men in this election. That's a very positive sign if you're Vice President Harris. And the third one would be tackling price gouging and the economic condition of what she calls an opportunity economy. My critique of the Harris campaign, I've already voted in this election. I think Vice President Harris had momentum coming out of the debate. She didn't do enough to separate herself from the Biden administration. I don't envy her position, right? She had to put together a national organization in a shorter amount of time than any other candidate in American history. But my Democratic friends who work both on the Harris campaign and for some of the senatorial campaigns are very nervous. And I think that the issue that Harris has is that this closing argument is really hard to pull off. It requires a very sophisticated campaign that can juggle numerous messages at once. And I've heard from my sources over the past 2 weeks that the Harris campaign has really struggled to figure out what their messaging is. And in this last pivotal week, where, if you remember in 2016, Clinton lost the election because Jim Comey dropped the laptop story, and the polls did move undecided voters towards former President Trump. I think Kamala Harris tonight got up and gave a speech that will excite her base. I think much like we saw at Madison Square Garden, this is a base election. Both campaigns are relying on high turnout because both candidates are unpopular. Trump is obviously unpopular because he's divisive. Harris is unpopular because I don't think she's particularly good at this. I don't think she's a strong candidate. But I do think that when she's talking about issues that she's really passionate about, and we saw this in that first debate with abortion, there is something there. And I think tonight she did a good job describing the insurrection and how bad it was to the future of democracy. Now, whether or not those arguments will permeate above the top three issues in this election, which are national security, immigration, and the economy, has yet to be seen. But I think Harris accomplished everything that she wanted to do tonight. I think that the speech will be received by Republicans and some independent voters as divisive. But I think tensions are really high in the country already. I think that they were high before Madison Square Garden and were after Madison Square Garden. And with just a week left until this election is as tight as a tick. I've seen internal polling from both campaigns. Both campaigns think they can win. Both campaigns think they can lose. Trump is significantly more confident. And I think tonight, Harris, her closing argument was basically that it doesn't matter what you think about the policies. Donald Trump as a person is so morally reprehensible that he cannot be allowed to stand behind the seal of the presidency again. And that's the closing argument. I think it's risky for Harris to make this argument because Clinton tried to do the same thing in 2016 and it did not work. I think President Trump, he's baked in the cake. Everybody has an opinion on him. So we're going to have to see in the next week where the polls move. The polling today was all over the place. I've been watching it. I would say don't put stock in the polls. If you care about getting one of these candidates across the finish line, you need to prepare your side for what happens if your candidate loses. Because the media and the parties are not doing this. The Democrats think that if Trump wins, the country will end, and the Republicans think the same thing about the future of the country. And next Wednesday, if the race is called and the early vote numbers show that Trump is in a good position, better than he ever was in 16 or 20 because of enthusiasm among the base. I'm just trying to be realistic here. I think that the Democrats and the Republicans need to start telling their voters what happens if they lose, that we are all Americans. And Harris tried to make that message tonight. Yeah. So that's what I got from the speech. I think it's going to be an interesting week, and I'm just ready for the election to be over. And I pray that, I think there will still be an America regardless of what happens. But I just hope that both sides are ready to accept what happens if the other side wins.
Well, Nick, your punditry is like on the one, brother. You're good. You got that like laid out. Cooking. I didn't watch the speech tonight. But I like how you ended. Like, definitely, they're still without a doubt going to be in America come Wednesday morning, regardless of the outcome. I didn't get a chance to, like, again, I said, to watch the speech, but she's been kind of like threading those loops throughout the last couple of months, right? Like, my sense is there's something that also that I think she's, I don't know, adopted from Hillary, this idea of like running a race not to lose as opposed to running to win.
Yeah, exactly.
Think, like, when you're fighting like that, and it is a fight, to be clear, when you're fighting like that, like it's almost like you can't help but lose. In Trump, I think Nick, you're like his confidence. He's always 100% confident, But there's something about his confidence where he doesn't even consider it a loss. Like I think the other day I was watching an interview of his, and he had a Freudian slip. He's like, "Oh, I lost in 2020." And it's like, "No, I didn't lose." Immediately, the copy, erase it. And there's something about that like I think resonates with people who feel at a loss, like as in like our entire country in many ways. They feel like they've lost something, and I mean, in many ways, it's true. Like some sense of economic losses for lots of folks. Losing bodily autonomy rights for other folks. Like, it's a loss that folks are feeling. And what Trump is selling, and I mean, he's a New Yorker, great, finesser. He's selling the nostalgia, much like the first time with 2016, Make America Great Again. But now it's like, hey, remember when in 2020 things were great before the pandemic?
Yes.
So he's selling nostalgia, and nostalgia is psychologically undefeated, because nostalgia is the same to everyone. We all remember some fondness in our own.
Right.
He understands.
You always think about your ex-girlfriend most of the time.
Exactly, like the best times and stuff, like I mean, not remembering when she was like
she bleached her clothes. Yeah.
And I think I don't think the Harris campaign is underestimating him, but I think they're kind of again being too cautious and running a campaign not to lose.
Right.
I think one of the biggest examples of that is like not necessarily taking stances on some of the most salient issues internationally and obviously related domestically, like her language around Palestine, what's going on in Palestine. And, she's still trying to find this mythical middle person where, like, as you identify, Nick, like we're more polarized and divisive than ever. You got to pick a side and just like, all right, bet this is who I'm rolling with, because she expects that from progressives, and she expects that from centrists. It's like, just pick a side, take a stance. And I think she's obviously at a trippy disadvantage, because she still is a woman and a woman of color in a country that's not nearly as far ahead in terms of progress as folks like to pretend in the media. So she has that disadvantage. But I think it's okay to be an angry Black woman right now, because
I agree.
There are lots of angry Black women and angry women and angry people in general.
I've been saying this. That the way to beat Trump is to get down and dirty with him.
Yeah.
Because Kamala can do it. I've seen Kamala do it. When she was on that debate stage in 2020, and she looked at Joe Biden and said, "You supported busing. You were against busing. I was that Black girl who was denied access to my schools." That was the defining moment of Kamala Harris's primary run.
Absolutely.
And I see in Kamala Harris, and it's not just the Israel issue, it's every single consequential issue in this campaign. She can say, I have been the vice president. Joe Biden served our country well, but I am my own person. Not whenever you ask her, and she enters this wash, dry, run cycle of, I was born in a middle-class family. You have Saturday Night Live making fun of this. I think that Donald Trump is exactly where he wants to be, because Donald Trump, his argument at Madison Square Garden was, the system is broken. I alone can fix it. I have taken a bullet for democracy. They have impeached me twice. They have tried to bankrupt me. And that message to the forgotten man and the forgotten woman is what gave Donald Trump the rise in 2016. And Joe Biden countered that in 2020 by saying that I was vice president to Barack Obama. I can handle Vladimir Putin. I'm a return to normalcy. Trump is running on the Warren Harding, a chicken in every pot and a car in every garage. And the baggage that comes. And so the question in this election is whether or not the policy proposals that Donald Trump, that most Americans think were better. And I think it's Joe Biden's fault that he didn't articulate his legitimate accomplishments in Congress, especially, towards pushing back against Donald Trump. Trump is where he wants to be. He's confident. He's going to McDonald's. He's taking photo ops. He's expanding the map. He's going to Virginia and New Mexico. These are Democratic states. They're not going to flip. He's campaigning in New York and California. Trump, when he's confident, is nearly unbeatable. And it's because the way to stop Trump, and we've seen it, we saw it in 2020, was when you actually corner him on the truth. When you mention what happened with COVID-19, when you mentioned what happened with January 6th, these are compelling arguments, and they come from my side of the aisle. I'm a Republican.
Right.
I hear from Republican women. I'm out door knocking for the Hogan campaign. There is a shy woman vote in this election, I'm telling you. Women who will come out because of the abortion issue, because they feel like the Republican Party has abandoned them. I am personally pro-choice on this issue, and my party has given people the opportunity to say that women, or that Republicans want to control them. And the issue is Donald Trump, by sending it to the states, is feeding into that argument, right? That is his argument about this issue. And I think that the Harris campaign, the one advantage that they have is hoping that people are so fed up with Donald Trump
Yeah.
that Harris's message of turning a new page can resonate. But I think that the issue that the Harris campaign has is that she is a flawed candidate. My Democratic friends admit it. She's not, there's a reason why in 2020 she did not win that primary. She effectively had her career ended by Tulsi Gabbard, famously. So I think that Kamala is,
early. Yep.
I think Kamala could very well be the next president, and I hope that Republicans accept the results of the election. It's Donald Trump today already started spreading conspiracy theories about voter fraud in Pennsylvania. I would just like to say that regardless of what side of the aisle that you're on, that we all bleed the same blood and we believe in the same Constitution and the same Declaration of Independence. And Kamala Harris needs to realize that on issues like the border, on issues like the economy, the war in Israel, the war in Ukraine, how to handle Taiwan, she still has an opportunity to be specific with this. She's giving interviews every day till the end of the election. And this is a dogfight. If the polls are off just 1%, either way, a candidate can get upwards of 312 electoral votes, which is sweeping the Sun Belt and the Rust Belt. Now, the issue with polling is that it underestimates Trump. So the Trump people are saying that we're in a great position. That's why they're going on offense. But I think if we look back a week from now at tonight, and Kamala Harris goes out and gives an argument that resonates about fascism, maybe that's how the Trump saga of American politics ends. And so, I think as a conservative, obviously I'm door knocking for Governor Hogan, and I can tell you that there are Republicans that will not vote for Donald Trump. These are the people that Harris is relying on in the suburbs of Philly, in the suburbs of Pittsburgh.
That's why she got the Liz
to win the election. Yeah, and Liz is an odd person. Liz is an odd person to trot out because it allows Trump to go to Arab voters in Michigan and say she's campaigning with the man.
Yeah.
She's campaigning with the man who lied to America, to America and led to us getting involved in regime change wars in the Middle East that destabilized the entire Middle East, that then subsequently caused mass immigration into Europe, that led to the destabilization of those countries as well. It's a terrible look for Kamala Harris.
I guess she had to because. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rondell.
I was going to say, yes, that's not a win. I think again, that's a pretend appeal to this mythical middle person. But Liz Cheney is not popular. Firstly, as I understand, in the Republican Party, she's definitely not popular in the Democratic Party. Who is excited about an endorsement or Liz Cheney campaigning for? I don't know who. It's like they're running by a playbook from I don't know, 2008 or something like that. That doesn't make any sense. That and again, this appeal to this mythical middle person. It's
this mythical white person. Well, I guess
exactly.
That's who Nick is talking about, the shy girl.
And I'll tell you this. I see it every day door knocking in Prince George's County. The Maryland has some of the most civically engaged voters in the entire country.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that the Hogan-Alsobrooks contest is actually a discussion about what you want the Senate to look like, a discussion of important issues, because both candidates actually have policy proposals. What I see out of Donald Trump and Kamala Harris is voter fatigue with both of them. And this has been a short campaign, right? And the situation would be different if Joe Biden was the nominee. My God, Trump would be 20 points ahead.
Yeah.
And I say this as somebody who I met Joe Biden when he was vice president. He was very sharp, and he should be commended for his years of public service to this country. And I say to my Republican friends that if Donald Trump goes and loses the election, we have a duty as a party to say that Kamala Harris did not win Tucker at the Madison Square Garden event said there is no way Kamala Harris can get 85 million votes. She can get 85 million votes because Donald Trump is the number one turnout machine in this country. There are people that will crawl over broken glass to vote for him, and they have valid arguments, and there are people that will vote against him. And
sir, I was even thinking about voting for him, but I voted for Jill Stein, but I wanted to say that because all he had to do was not be perceived racist or a dictator for at least a week. Just hold on for a week. But the rally, I think it was a setback because I watched the Rogan interview. I was like, okay, that was a very, it was a good look for him to be on there. He looked good. He was just having he was one of the guys. But then the same weekend, he went back to even he had to distance himself from the dude's jokes. And the Puerto Rican people, they were there and they didn't mind it, but it's still embarrassing.
That's key, though. That's key. I think that's something I want to tease out because you mentioned this earlier. there were, I didn't see the rally in New York, and I also didn't see the comment from this, a Puerto Rican gentleman who was like, "Yo, it's just a joke." But I think there's this like, you know, I'm not into like people, white folks telling me what's racist, and I think like if Puerto Rican folks, I mean, I know Bad Bunny is like endorsed Kamala, but he's not the president of Puerto Rico. He's not like,
He's not a citizen of America.
he's a celebrity, right?
Yeah.
And I think like there is something to, that disconnect between, Puerto Rican folks. I know Trump was in the Bronx, Dominican folks, Black folks who honestly. And I have friends who are like New Yorkers who are going to vote for Trump, like where it's like, I don't give a fuck about that racism in the abstract of what someone's saying when it's like, hey, what do you do? How do I, what am I excelling more? Am I, financially, economically, financially, academically, like, am I doing better?
Right.
Because honestly, you got a lot of folks from my community who feel like both of the parties are just bigots and like, one is candid about it, and maybe at times, i.e., Trump, helps me out. I don't know, the actuality. But like in the other part, it's like, yo, like so. I don't think I wouldn't harp too much on that whole like racism being a canon. You know what I mean? Because it's like, what do you?
I agree with you, but I'll tell you the electoral impact of this comment was very real. There are 500,000 Puerto Ricans who live in Pennsylvania. That's the decisive state in this election. Trump's path is 2020 map Georgia and Pennsylvania, and I've seen a lot of Hispanic voters that were going to vote for Donald Trump on November 5th, and they will not do it now. They will stay home or they will vote for Kamala.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I didn't know that. I just assumed.
And again, the comment itself, like we'll talk about this. I imagine Biden made a comment offhandedly tonight that the Trump campaign is already using, and Biden made a mistake by saying it because it's now going to give the ball back to Trump. It's similar to when Hillary Clinton famously said that you can put half of Trump supporters in a basket of deplorables. Trump loves this stuff because it feeds into his message of they're coming after me, so they're coming after you. And his Twitter account put out a tweet that said, Hillary calls you deplorables, Harris calls you fascists, Biden calls you garbage, Trump calls you patriots. That is the kind of marketing that like Trump does and people love. But I agree. It's like one of these things where I think for a lot of Hispanic voters that Trump was making inroads with, to see this kind of rhetoric, and also Jewish voters, by the way, they had Tucker Carlson there, and Tucker is an avowed anti-Semite. And so I had talked to a lot of my Jewish friends who were like, hell no, I'm not voting for Trump now. He put Tucker on his show who insinuates that Jews control the government. So it's just like there's a lot of stuff right now at this election because of how close it is that any one of these news stories, if it moves even just a small percentage of the electorate, it could tip the scales. We've never seen anything like it. This is an election like no other.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm hella excited to be excited this time.
Even the Washington Post, the LA Times, they was like, yo, we ain't even going to say who we going to put out because we don't know what's going to pop off and y'all going to blame us. But there was a 200 plus thousand subscribers.
200,000 people canceled. Yeah,
that's some angry liberals.
Yeah,
I'll be honest with you. I still think that we're going to wake up next Wednesday and Donald Trump will be the president-elect of the United States. I just get the feeling.
Yeah, and honestly, like you guys like similar, and I'm a hell of an optimist. Like but I'm also a fighter, and I know fights, and I know when somebody's losing, and I know when they're knocked down, and they're feigning like things are better than it is, and when they're fighting again not to lose. And I've never been in a fight that I fought like that, but I know that that's not a winner. You can't fight like that. And like, I think Nick, you were saying like that, whenever you get in that arena of confidence of like, with Donald Trump, it's like he's undefeated. You got to match it with not only the nastiness, but also that confidence of like, yo, like all conviction. Like it's clear, it should be no ambiguity about who Donald Trump is, that the party should be painting him as. But I think another thing where the party and Kamala has lost her credibility, even before she became the nominee, is the gaslighting earlier in the year, acting like Joe Biden wasn't who we all were seeing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's very hurtful to your credibility. Now you're expecting us to say, hey, within a couple of weeks or months now, like, hey, now it's like, no, you got to be, 100. And it looks terrible because Trump was saying this. And even he, saying something like, I took a bullet for the country. Yo,
That's
I'm
bars.
yeah, that's a bar. And I'm so surprised that, given what happened, two assassination attempts, one that was witnessed live on television, that they, that he's not actually doing much better than I thought that was a goal. I thought that was political goal.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, yeah, like, next Wednesday is going to be a somber day in DC. But regardless, we're still going to be good. We're going to be
Still
here.
gonna be here. We still DC
Absolutely.
strong. This DMV Ish
Absolutely.
Talk TV. We're gonna be
Yeah.
back with Rondell and Nick. Stay black. We're back to Ish Talk TV, and we got DC news, Maryland news, Tyson's Corner news. Leave a like and a comment. It's free 99. Let's get back to the election. So, like I was saying earlier, that they even are trying, the Harris campaign are even trying to distance themselves from Biden. Biden is trying, hey guys, I'm open, I'm free. They're saying now they're ghosting him for real, even though they have the same people that worked on his campaign is working with hers, and they doing him dirty. They doing him dirty. And what you said about his comment that he made, calling the Trump supporters, it's over. It's over. But go ahead.
You
What were
know,
you saying?
I believe that the reason why I could not bring myself to vote for Kamala Harris was ultimately the lies that she told for 3.5 years that behind closed doors, Joe Biden was as sharp as a tack. And to me, it automatically disqualified her character-wise because everybody could see what was apparent about Joe Biden. Everybody saw it in 2020 when the Democratic Party decided that they were not going to let Bernie Sanders become the nominee. And they had the day before Super Tuesday, every single candidate drop out and endorse then Vice President Biden. And he became the de facto nominee after sweeping, what was it, South Carolina?
Yeah.
And so, it was a massive comeback for him at the time. But the Democratic Party did two things. They lied about Biden's health for 3.5 years. And then they didn't have an open primary that would allow them to choose the strongest candidate. There are other candidates in the Democratic Party that I was pushing back against when the Republicans were saying they don't have a bench. They absolutely have a bench. A party with Josh Shapiro, Gretchen Whitmer, Gavin Newsom, Pete Buttigieg, qualified public servants. There's a reason why Josh Shapiro is not helping Harris win in Pennsylvania. And it's because he's the nominee in 2028, right? Gretchen Whitmer is not going all out in Michigan. These are the states that decide this thing. And John Fetterman
That's a good point.
recently went on, I believe it was CBS, and said that, look, Trump has a unique bond with the people of Pennsylvania after July 13th in Butler. And he said that she's going to get clobbered. John Fetterman is a very honest person, and he said that she does not have the pull that an Obama had or a Trump had or any of these other candidates that have won Pennsylvania. And I think to me that the gentleman, Mark Halperin, who leaked the story that Biden was going to drop out of the race, he said that the original idea was for there to be sort of an open primary type selection where Bill Clinton and Barack Obama would nominate 7 or 8 Democrats and they would compete for Biden's delegates. The Harris team took this as an insult because they felt like Kamala Harris had been a loyal vice president to Joe Biden, and she had been delegated the tasks. She had been delegated the tasks of the Biden administration that nobody else wanted to do, namely the border, right? Which
dirty work for you. Yeah.
And so
I think also they probably were thinking about Black women would have not had that shit.
Exactly. Yeah. That was part of the
They
narrative.
would have been a rat. Like you can't. They was actually in a lose really. Like you had to because there no.
And also Biden's money. She would be the only candidate who could get access to Biden's war chest. But here's my thing. There's a reason why Barack Obama, who's the elder statesman of the Democratic Party, was the last person to endorse Kamala Harris for the nomination. Just remember that. Barack Obama is very smart. He is an amazing politician. And next to Donald Trump is the most important politician of the 21st century for this country. And there is a reason why he is just now hitting the stump. And it seems to me like the Harris campaign is using him to try and drive up support among Black men. We talked about this last week on the podcast, but I believe there was the clip out of the Atlanta area in Georgia where the early vote numbers are terrible for Democrats. Their souls to the polls have not gotten them an advantage to where Georgia doesn't even look like it's competitive. I could see in my own personal election predictions, I have Trump winning the state by 4 points.
Hold on, Nick. we got the Democrats there and the Republicans. They're trying to get the same shy girl, white woman. You think they're trying to get a white? It's non-educated. It's a white. They trying to get a non-educated white person. That's who they're trying to get. Even if the Republicans can get some black people, some Latinos, that's cool. But they're trying to get that uneducated white person vote. But we have the youth, which is I got a video of Don Lemon. He was in DC. He asked this white boy. I'm pretty sure he's uneducated, but let's see. Let me know if you guys can hear it.
Can't hear it.
Can you see it though?
Yeah, I can see it.
Oh. Oh shoot, I don't even know how to. Oh damn, I don't know how to
Oh,
unmute it.
I know it. Yeah, I've seen this clip.
I haven't. Can you give me a quick synopsis?
Effectively, it's discussing Harris's role as the border czar, if you want to call it that, where she was assigned to tackle the underlying issues of immigration into the country. And so instead of necessarily addressing the southern border, she, on her first diplomatic trip outside of the country, I believe went to Guatemala or some country in that region of the world to attempt to uh, tell immigrants from those countries to not come into the United States. There's a now famous
I'm-
clip of her giving a speech where she says, "Do not, like, to those who want to enter the country illegally, do not come."
Yeah, I saw that.
And it has become ridiculed in conservative circles, but it was this gentleman talking to Don Lemon appeared to be saying that her role was strictly to handle immigration at the southern border.
right. And with that being said, if the white people want to vote for Trump, that's where it's going to be.
I
Me
mean, like,
personally, I voted for Jill Stein, and I got to add this off topic, but when I'm going to go vote, it's just so much stuff. It got people standing outside. It's too hectic, and uh, it's like I'm going through
oh,
have you guys ever been to going to get a girl to get an abortion, and then she's like, and they got all those people
I was
in
like,
your
you
face
know,
Can't
and
say I've ever
stuff?
done that, but
yeah, I haven't done that either.
But, but that's
But
what it seems like.
I think I
Like
sensed the sentiment. I think I get it.
voting is it's getting hectic. Like I don't, it's so intense. But
What's consequential? Like,
yeah,
now more than ever,
you're
right?
like, thanks for being here. Are you sure you want to do it? Okay,
Yeah.
but I voted for Jill Stein. Who are you going for, Ron? When it comes to Ward 2, you. But
Well, yeah, I'm definitely writing myself in for Ward 2, but for the presidential election, yeah, I also will be voting for Jill Stein. I believe that uh for me, like, I mean, honestly, like, it comes down to like who are the warmongers and who not. Like, I mean, like, I want to exist and have a family to occupy this, and also climate change relatedly. I want my family to have a planet to exist in.
white women, I know you guys hate this warm Halloween, warm October. You can't wear your Uggs. Think about that.
no pumpkin spice lattes.
Oh no, yeah,
I
think
think,
about that. White women, before you
yeah,
vote for
like,
Trump, vote
and,
for the environment and your Uggs.
yeah, and also for Jill Stein is the only candidate I've seen thus far that is mentioned reparations. I think
Right.
there's something very healthy about being honest about the state of affairs. So I think just before you were talking about the border, Kamala should have came out and just said, "Hey, we fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
We changed some things. Obviously I'm the vice president. Like I did the best I can. However, in this, I'm gonna, I'll have the reins. So I'm, a person enough, woman enough to admit like when I messed up. But hey, here's an opportunity. I'm gonna change it. Like we're gonna move forward with this, yada yada. But to act like again, people
Yeah.
aren't seeing or experiencing what they're seeing. It's like that's just gaslighting. And I think it works for your base, but it doesn't work for folks who are undecided. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
It's like that dude that can't admit that he's wrong. Like,
facts.
come on, man. Nah, because what I did. Okay.
Yeah.
But all right. So
But Jill Stein, to answer your question, yeah, Jill, I'm definitely
Jill Stein. So with that being said, when it comes to voting third party and when it comes to running your race, you're
sure.
talking to people. You're in Ward 2.
Yeah.
How do you feel about ranked choice voting? Because the DC Democrats, they're saying don't vote for it.
Yeah, they definitely are saying that. So I'm running as an independent. I believe that ranked choice voting ensures that the elected official is more accountable to their electorate, and it also uh, mitigates the nastiness of primaries. You know, I mean, you can't be just talking trash about like whoever you're competing against because you need their constituents to at least put you in second. And honestly, it's inherently more democratic. The reason why the Democratic Party is pushing against it is because they've had DC in a stranglehold for however long, and it's threatening to their power. But the trippy thing is their power, excuse me, their power is endorsed by the people that support them and put them in office. Somewhere along the way they got that confused. For I-83, I think that I mean, I'm an independent, and there are lots of independents in the city, and there are lots of closeted independents, folks who just register as Democrats and are actually independents, and or like the incumbent here, Brooke Pinto, closeted Republicans who are just be behind their name, where it's like, hey, like no, like stand on your principles, stand on your beliefs and your values, and you don't got to finesse the party system. You can actually just be honest with the people. So I think ranked choice voting encourages more transparency, more honesty, and more responsiveness between politician and people. So I'm
Right,
all
especially if Pinto is running. They got her just running by herself. That's what.
yeah, that's a joke. And it's why she ran in the primary by herself as well. And the reason why I'm running as a write-in is because Councilmember Pinto sent her campaign treasurer to challenge some signatures on my ballot
Wow,
petition,
wow.
which is like whatever it may be. But the trippy part about it is, as I understand the legislative intent, and I've only been practicing for 5 years, but the legislative intent is to overcome fraud and deception and people like trying to cheat to get on the ballot when folks who are just honestly mistaken about whether or not they're registered, or like in the case of the petitions I submitted, folks living in the same building, different floor, or
Mm.
within the same ward, but they've moved because they're a student at Georgetown or GW. It's just trippy to have the incumbent initiate that challenge to like avoid the people making a decision. But in my experience, man, everyone who I've spoken to has either been apathetic or not really fucked with Pinto in no particular way.
But
So
at the same time, they say crime is down, or the certain types of crimes are up.
yeah, certain types.
And she's the one that started that crime bill,
No, so she initiated
initiated it.
yeah, she introduced the Secure DC bill, but that's a misnomer because that bill largely it's had a negligible effect on crime. The
Mm.
reason that crime is down has been because of the natural trailing of the effects of the pandemic. Everything that was exacerbated, kids being out of school, a lot of the young people who I represent being detached from that stability of school, going to school every day just to eat, or like the routine of existing. You know what I mean? For a lot of us, it was annoying, but for people who were on the edge already, it was like, at the end of the world in many ways. And that was going to happen regardless. But what she's done is attempted to take I don't know, credit for like crime going down, but that's not what's happened at all.
Bollocks. Well, if we want to talk about crime, we got to talk about this thing that happened in Navy Yard. I know it's not your ward, but police
No,
have been monitoring a group of 100 and 200 teens swarming at Navy Yard Metro, and now a gallery place where one has been injured. Unclear if he's been shot with a pellet gun or a rail gun. Blood and a crime scene have been found. Okay, on the train. That's not good. They
no,
turned
it's
the
not
Navy
good.
Yard
It's
to
tragic.
the
Yo, it's
grave.
tragic.
What
Hmm.
the hell are these kids doing?
Yeah,
Where are
well,
the parents at?
yeah, that's always the question, right? Like, where are the parents? But in my experience, working with young people who come in contact with the youth justice system, it's
They
not
ain't had no
real.
Marion Barry knots to keep the
Nah,
Marion Barry knots of jobs, not to jobs.
you know what it is? The question I ask is, what are the kids who aren't, getting caught up at Navy Yard in those circumstances? What do they have? What do they have that where they don't end up, in contact with DRS or law enforcement or picking up a pellet gun or a real firearm? Is their material needs being met? So it's like a bit of a straw man that I think folks pretend to play on, like, oh, these kids, they're out of control, and it's like, oh, these kids don't have anything. So desperation for children is the worst circumstance for them to have. I've actually witnessed childhood die prematurely, and it happens as a result of poverty and how we respond to these kids who make mistakes. Like, all kids make mistakes. Before our prefrontal is fully formed, like, we can't even fucking think past, a couple of weeks, at different stages of our development. And I think, those kids in the Navy Yard who, probably were on a spree and some type of fun, and when kids are together, they're more likely to commit crimes or offenses as when they're separate. There's a lot there that gets lost in the weeds of, like, okay, what are we seeing? A lot of things has happened wrong before, you see those kids committing sprees of stealing and stuff like that.
Nick, how do you feel about just when it comes to a Republican in DC trying to get ahead? Do you think they just gotta be a fake ass Democrat to get through?
Well, I think this speaks to the Democratic Party writ large, and the Republican Party does it too, but for the sake of this election, let's be honest, the Democratic Party has used every outlet possible to try and censor their political opponents, from Jill Stein to Donald Trump to Bobby Kennedy Jr. Famously, Bobby Kennedy was running against Biden for the nomination. They changed the rules in New Hampshire to say that if a candidate stepped into the state of New Hampshire and won the delegates, they would automatically get awarded to the incumbent president. They moved the date of the first nominating caucus to South Carolina in a hope that if Biden got any primary challengers, the first contest would be held in a state that was beneficial to him. We have 5 cases against Donald Trump. I don't necessarily want to walk through DOJ collusion in all of them. We can if you want, but at least 3 of them have very serious implications where members from the DOJ would go to lower circuit courts or held meetings with the Biden Department of Justice to help solidify cases against Donald Trump. And I think what we see with this ranked choice voting from the DC Democratic Party is writ large of the national agenda. But I want to circle back to this Navy shipyard thing, because I agree with what you said. Actually, I'm a teacher, and I teach in Montgomery County, so I understand more than nearly any other profession that the hierarchy of needs is probably the most validated psychological theory in all of human history. People cannot succeed in any arena, education, politics, financial, what be it, if they don't have a roof over their head, food in their belly, and water to drink. And I think the mistake that we make as a country is that as soon as people step out of line in any state in the union, we automatically assume the worst of people. And that's because Americans don't know how to talk to each other anymore. It goes beyond the political climate. And I think a lot of it is driven through our political process. And every 4 years, it's the same exact talking point. This is the most important election in the history of our country. No, it's not. This election is not the most important election in the history of our country unless you have severe Trump derangement syndrome, or you really think that the Democrats are going to use the CIA to, lock up every Trump supporter or something. That's not true. And the reason why the temperature, sure, and if you really believe that, you need to have an honest conversation with your neighbor. The best show of this election cycle is Two-Way with Sean Spicer and Dan Turretin, who are a Republican and a Democrat who sit down with an independent journalist and they have conversations with Americans where the message of the theme is unity and peace. It's peace and understanding, not hatred.
Peace.
And I see it in my students who come from broken households. They want to get ahead. They believe in the American dream and the American creed. And as a history teacher, I believe that the history of America is we have always failed to live up to the expectations set in our founding documents. And it is our job to make sure that we progress society towards that. And we might have policy disagreements to get there. But when I looked at this Navy story, I did not think for 1 second that any of these kids, their family life didn't even factor into my equation. I saw it and I really didn't, have an opinion on the story. But the way that the media reported on it made it sound like there was a band of hooligans running around the metro system of DC and throwing people off of trains. That's not true. They made it sound like a European soccer match when a person's favorite team loses. And so, to be honest, like the reason why our politics is so divided is because we teach our children to hate more than to love their neighbor.
Okay,
And to
okay,
me,
well, hold on.
yeah,
Not hate, but you gotta love your neighbor. But you're in Montgomery County. They got this. The Montgomery County Council voted Tuesday in favor of a pilot program that will use noise camera devices in an effort to reduce exhaust noise. Now we're talking about my neighbor. I live on the main street. I hear these. I hear these. I'm like, is this on a set of Need for Speed? I feel like when it comes to, I don't understand these type of people that love these loud ass cars, but I support this bill. What do you guys say? And I don't know if
Can
I'm
you like
old,
wait, what
but
is it about? What's the was it noise
that
cancellation
yeah,
reason?
that they're installing like noise cameras like at the light, so whenever a car can loud ass exhaust modified cars, those Honda.
Yeah. Are they gonna ticket them? What I didn't read
I
it.
yeah, I guess go and take a picture of it, other than their license plates.
Yo,
But
I think like I think people would spend a lot of time. I mean, that's a nuisance, but I think people spend a lot of time, our elected officials, on like solving problems that are like
is that a Karen issue for me?
that might be. That
That's a
might
Karen
be.
issue for me.
Yeah, because it's like, all right, cool. That only ever lasts for a couple of seconds. So we're gonna
I
like
will, but
install cameras. We're gonna spend hundreds of thousands of dollars for a nuisance that occurs for a couple of seconds, and that's it. To send a ticket. Really, what they're trying to do is just get money from that
Mm,
particular nuisance, and they're finessing it as, oh, we
I
want to make it.
see.
Same thing today in DC, Brooke Pinto, the legislation introduced last week, this tranquility bill, right? It's an anti-protest bill, but it's being finessed as like a, oh, we want to make it so like, respect the rights of residents who, shouldn't
Oh,
be subject to the nuisance of like loudspeakers. Protest is inherently disruptive, you know what I mean? But
mm,
it's like,
mm,
okay, like you're trying to make it more convenient for like
mm.
the wealthy and privileged here in Ward 2, or in the case of these cameras, that's just a way to get money. Because if you're putting cameras, that means you're not going to stop it in immediately. That's a reactive response, right? So you're just going to collect a toll later. You think somebody going to change their muffler or their exhaust or stop driving a car because they got a ticket for $1.50? No, it's ridiculous.
Nick, you support it?
no. And as a conservative, I wouldn't support it at all. But I can say that, strictly speaking, as deterrence, we have something similar in Baltimore County, where now if you speed around a school bus, there are sensors near the stop sign that will take a picture of your license plate, and you get fined upwards of $250. Now, this is not usually an issue, but Baltimore County is naturally very hilly, right? If the school bus is parked at the top of a hill and you're trying to drive up and you can't see that the bus has its blinkers on because of the natural curve of the topography, the sensors are so sensitive they will automatically catch your car. So this is it's another one of these programs that I think is just there to earn money off people. I don't I mean is the presence of faulty mufflers on a car, I mean, that comes off as privilege to me because not everybody can afford to go out. I mean, if I right now with the financial situation I'm in as a college student, if my check engine light comes on in my car, I don't necessarily have the money to pay for it. And now the state and the county government is telling me that I need to change the muffler on my car. That is just I don't understand it. But
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I got the Midas touch, guys. Well, all right, the last 3 minutes. Um, let's go to Tyson's. I saw speaking of those types of Need for Speed, Fast and Furious people. Elon Musk, he posted a video of these two, the Cybertruck and a Ferrari, and Tyson's Corner. I'm not sure if you guys been to Tyson's, Nick, Ron. It's a totally different. It's a fake Beverly Center. Um, Changed a lot, but apparently this is in the broad daylight. We got uh we got people in Trump rallies calling people watermelon carving, and we got drag races in the daylight. Maybe just
Who won?
we got young
Um,
punks everywhere. I
yeah, I
hate
mean, Elon posted that. You say Elon Musk posted that?
yes.
Well, I guess he was just trying to show off the Cybertruck's acceleration.
I don't know. I'm getting
Um,
too old.
yeah, I mean,
Broad daylight.
yeah,
Imagine somebody just getting off of my 12-hour shift, and I got in my in my 1996 Honda Civic, and I gotta watch this.
yeah,
Bollocks, man, bollocks. All right.
yeah.
Okay. Before we go, I gotta ask you, Nick. There was this Mehdi Hassan. He was on CNN. He was talking to some guy, and they were talking about what's going on in Gaza. And the guy said basically, "Well, I hope your beeper doesn't go off," which talks about those people in where was it in there?
It's the pager attack in Lebanon.
Yes, yes, yes. Very. Even watching that, I was like, "Oh my goodness!" On CNN, he got fired on the
I
spot.
will tell you the counterpoint to this is that Mehdi Hassan has in the past on the same network compared
Oh,
non-Muslims and atheists to cattle.
hold
And
on, sir. Hold on, sir. And also, and after the dude, he apologized for saying it like they were like, "Hey, you can't say that." And then the first thing he said was, "I thought you said Hamas," which to me that felt like that's a card that Jewish people use. I understand it's terrible, but you can't use that at every moment. But how do you feel about the people using October 7th so willy-nilly? You think it's
I
worth it or
mean,
it's necessary?
I think this is part of a larger conversation, but I have zero respect for Mehdi Hassan himself. He, in the past, has made incredibly homophobic comments about people that are bisexual like myself, so I've taken offense at them. And also earlier on in the clip, he did call anyone who votes for Donald Trump a Nazi. So that is also in the CNN clip. The part that you're seeing, Ryan Degurski, obviously the comment about the pager was completely out of hand. I know Ryan. I worked with him on Capitol Hill. This is the kind of stuff that you get with him. He's kind of a firebrand. Doesn't make the comment right. Um, and it's kind of an interesting thing too, because Mehdi is kind of a provocative figure both on the left and not just even beyond the Israel thing. He's one of the most critical people I've ever heard of Kamala Harris. He wants her to win the election, but it's not just the Israel thing.
He's two-faced, man.
He slams her all the time. And what's funny about Mehdi is that he actually gets all of his funding from Qatar. He set up a fake
Is that
institute and
true?
effectively,
I didn't
yes,
know.
it is. It is. It is. But I will say this about Mehdi: he does do a good job arguing a lot of like leftist perspectives on stuff. I
Right.
think that particular clip was one of those things to
He
where
be tearing up
he
IDF soldiers though, officials. You gotta give him that. No?
the guy's smart. I've seen clips
Okay.
where he gets mad and yells at them, but I think like about the CNN clip in particular, Ryan is interesting. He's like one of two conservatives that are on. The other one is Scott Jennings. He's the contributor. He worked for the Bush campaign. Um, and so it's kind of one of these things to where, my guess would be knowing Ryan, he got called a Nazi and then he got mad
He got
and then
triggered.
they kicked him off. And then I believe when the clip came back, the host, who CNN has the same host for
Yeah,
these
Abby
kind of like
Phillip. Yeah.
Abby came on
Chocolate
and she
drop.
she explained it.
Hmm.
So I'm surprised Ryan's not going back onto CNN. I don't know where he's going to go now. My guess would be my hot take. He's going to be Trump's press secretary. I could see Trump doing something like that.
Oh,
Um,
okay. All right.
you mark it here. I think that a
We
lot of
heard
people
we heard it here. We heard it here. All
heard
right.
it here first.
All right.
So I don't know. I think Mehdi is, I don't know what he's all over the place. He goes on Piers Morgan a lot. He was recently on a
What do you
debate
condemn
about
Hamas?
the elections.
Okay.
So
All right. Ron, you
Yeah.
have any thoughts on that before I ask you a question?
No, I didn't see the clip, like, so I don't want to comment on it particularly.
Okay. So how do you feel about when it comes to Black supporters that feel and a connection with what's going on over there in Gaza when it comes to voting for Kamala? I know you mentioned it earlier,
Yeah,
but
I mean,
that's
like,
that's a real big proportion of Black people, or it's just
I don't know. I don't have any data on that, but in terms of Black folks, I can speak for the sample size of one myself, and like in terms of the parallels between what's going on in Palestine and what I experienced, coming up as a Black man in Brooklyn, and also what I'm seeing here in DC. I think that when we use language like genocide, we have like this idea of what it looks like, and speed is used against us in terms of like how fast something can go, right? Like so, Israel has killed 40 plus thousand and folks in a little bit over a year, in 3 weeks, and uh, 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 before that, there were thousands of folks in the West Bank, in Gaza, excuse me, who were being harassed, killed, arrested. Like, I think that whatever we can be complicit in foreign in terms of what's going on over there is a tell for how we treat the folks who are at the bottom of the cast, African Americans here in the United States. So I think, Dr. King, I think mentioned this, that triple evils of racism, militarism, and was it capitalism? I forget. I'm losing it right now. I'm kind of tired, but if we can sit back and witness what's happening, like we have social media, like folks during Vietnam didn't have that, like, and we're seeing what the hell is going on, and our government is not only non-responsive to folks who are saying, "Yo, stop this shit," but also willing to do roundabout of like, "Yo, this, yeah, we." What I mean? Like, it's clear what's going on, and like personally, I believe
racism, economic exploitation, and militarism.
There we go. Yeah, economic exploitation, exactly, and yeah, that's what's going on. We're sending billions of dollars to Israel and to the Ukraine, and meanwhile you have folks starving 2 blocks from the White House. I think that kind of hypocrisy is not only inescapable but inexcusable now and forever. So, and you can't tell me you defending democracy over there in Ukraine when they try to stop black folks.
Fascism. Trump is a fascist, and Netanyahu is a fascist. But at the end of the day, guys, we love everybody. We love our Jewish. Man. We love our Muslims.
Absolutely.
We love our Black Trump supporters. We love our Kamala supporters. And at the end of the day, we all got to work together, and we're going to see what's going to happen. We got Nick, you voted for Trump.
Stein. Did I? Yeah.
All right, I'm Stein. Rondell Stein. Thank you.
Yeah, I haven't voted yet, but I'll more than likely be voting for Joe Stein. Yeah.
I appreciate you guys for joining Ish Talk TV. Nick, tell the people where they can reach you at, player.
You guys can follow me on Instagram at n.marks_17. You can also follow me on Twitter at nmarks171. And otherwise, yeah, I hope to see you guys again. This was a great conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Facts. Ron, tell the people where they can reach out, support.
For sure. You guys can follow me on Instagram at Magic MAGIC FORDC on Instagram. That's the campaign IG. My personal Instagram is Rondell Jordan ESQ. And you also can get involved with the campaign at magic4dc.com to donate and or support and volunteer. We got a little bit less than 6 days until election. Yeah, man, let's make some noise. Let's shake this shit up.
Make some pinto beans.
Oh, I like that.
Hey, I'm your host. Be more, stay black.